Hello everyone! I think you've already heard that there's a problem in Spain. Some migrants ended up somewhere, there are either a lot of them or not so many. How did they end up there? Anyway, now we're going to figure it out, and this will be quite interesting because many people don't even know that Ceuta and Melilla are on another continent. This is definitely not Eurasia. Let's start with where they are located and what they actually are. Ceuta and Melilla are so-called Spanish enclaves that are located in Africa. They are not connected to each other. These are two separate regions. In the first case, they are separated by Gibraltar, and in the second case by an entire sea. And Gibraltar, strangely enough, is also a British territory, so everything there is really complicated. Of course, getting into these enclaves is actually not that difficult. Basically, if you try, you could just climb over the fence and get in. Why are these... Okay, let's discuss the migrants first, then address why. Tens of thousands have broken through. Last night I saw information that about 1,500 or 1,000 people from Morocco crossed the sea. I'll explain why by sea in a moment. They entered this very enclave and were happily running through the streets getting ready for the morning. All day and even now, so much is happening there. Nothing like this has ever happened before. You wouldn't wish it on your enemy. But anyway, here's the point. Tens of thousands like that broke through. These wonderful people, valuable specialists. Here you can clearly see doctors, artists, poets. Here, I think, is a nuclear physicist in a red t-shirt. Somewhere over there you can also see a neurosurgeon. All of them are trying to get to Ceuta. This was filmed on July 31, 2026. And once again they're telling us what Ceuta is. This is one of the land sections of the European Union's external border with Africa. The population of Ceuta itself is only 85,000 people. According to new data, about 60,000 broke through. So, it turns out that more than half of the population in Ceuta itself is now diluted by all these valuable specialists. And in order to get to Spain, you have to cross the Strait of Gibraltar, because again, it exists. But the city itself had long been a destination for migrants. To get to Ceuta, people swim from the Moroccan city of Fnidek. They need to cover a distance of about 5 kilometers. Here they even get some help. These are shots of valuable specialists breaking into the Spanish enclave. Call it a tanclave or whatever you want. And they're all rushing to take jobs. These aren't tourists, as you might think, even though it's summer and hot. These are the very people. Subtitles. As you can also see, there are a huge number of women and children among them, the most vulnerable groups in society. There are almost no men or young guys among them. See, it's just women and children running, no men, right? So, well, what now? Here are some more shots as well, when these valuable specialists break through the fence, and here again, up front, apparently, well, that's that. What the valuable specialists left behind on the coast. Out of sight, out of mind, they just threw everything away and ran off. Plus, why did they even start running, driving, or sailing to that very exclave in the first place? The thing is, under the new Spanish laws, you can't deport migrants en masse. You have to approach each person individually, understand their situation, study the delicate soul of each one, and do individual casework. Bring in psychologists, help them find jobs. And all this time, of course, you have to provide comfortable living conditions. As comfortable as they can possibly be. And in the end, of course, the more people there are, the harder it is to find an individual approach for each one. And if there are several tens of thousands of people, then 2 or 3 psychologists per 1,000 of these valuable specialists won't be able to do anything at all. And accordingly, the review process gets dragged out for a long time. And the laws are just wonderful. I don't really like them. I mean, they generally ensure a comfortable life and living conditions for people. Humanistic theories are confirmed here. See, that's the advantage of Borrell's Paradise Garden. And the authorities of Ceuta announced on July 30th that just in the last few days, 1,500 migrants swam from Morocco to Ceuta to their delight, and then it just kept going. According to the agency, in the last 24 hours, 49,000 migrants have already arrived in Ceuta. And in videos published on social media and in the media, you can see how these people swim to the shore and then keep running. And then they sleep, of course, on the street, and according to the police, there have already been many cases there. Well, just imagine, half the population, maybe even more. Consider that these are tourists now. There are many cases of breaking into homes. There are many cases of looting stores. Of course, no one blames them. It's probably other people. Neither do I. I also by no means blame valuable specialists. What happened is probably all the fault of capitalism. That's it. And here's what's happening with us.
I have been involved in People and Subtitles di Matorzok. To be continued, que...
They are reporting to us that during the incursion of tourists into the territory of Sclava, 18 people died, and out of those very 50,000, and the civil guard is currently conducting investigations. Something is already burning. It's probably a new restaurant that opened, and they're probably cooking Moroccan dishes. But as I understand it, these same people want to get a job. And probably this is exactly the result. From the very first day, they're working. From the very first day, they're trying to improve the quality of their lives. But that's remarkable. There's already a big bonfire burning there, where they're probably cooking delicious food, and everyone is running there to replenish their calorie reserves. Look, there are plenty of women and children. It's noteworthy that the most vulnerable groups of the population are finding their place, or as they say, Ukrainians are finding shelter, refuge in Spain, or at least on its territory. Yeah, congratulations, as they say. And here are a few more shots of the entry. Of course, there was police there, and there was also the civil guard. But what can even 500 people do, even if they're armed, when they're not allowed to do anything at all against 50,000 people? Well, it's just ridiculous, of course. And now we have new information that after this tourist route, when these 50,000 pilgrims entered Ceuta, Madrid started sending in the military. And suddenly Spain and Italy had a falling out because of Schengen. That woman from Italy, Maloney, said, "Aha, you can't secure your own borders, so we'll close our borders with you, and in general, Schengen should be taken away." And this talented woman was supported by a certain representative from Finland, who is actually on the other side of the world. But nevertheless, they strongly condemned what was happening, and by the way, he also condemned what was happening. The most interesting thing, let me find it for you, you won't believe who Partegenos Merz is. Probably all of this was done because in Germany there's control and order when it comes to migrants. There are almost none of them there, just one person per million. And that's why Merz, who has complete control over the situation in Germany and is the Germans' favorite chancellor, is now telling Spain what to do. But from the height of his vast experience with his control over the situation in such a large and wealthy country as Germany, which provides the highest quality and standard of living for its citizens, naturally Merz has the right to show Spain examples and cases of how to manage things and what to do in such situations. And Berlin, we are told, expects Spain to fulfill its duty to protect the external borders of the European Union in order to combat illegal migration. A bird flew to me here in Islam in Stiquan, and in a way we are also migrants. Let me remind you, we live in Spain. Well, we are citizens now, but that doesn't change the fact that we weren't born Spanish. So we just observe this situation, we just watch and marvel, and then we're told that 60,000 migrants have made it through. And the Chancellor of Germany is not happy about it. And after that, Merz says that Spain wants and must restore control over the situation in Ceuta as soon as possible. That's why I approached. I welcome Spain's intention not to allow illegal migrants onto the European continent. It's obvious that in Germany, which has accepted several million migrants from Syria, Afghanistan, and some other countries, with a very powerful economy and military-industrial complex. Well, everything is fine here, so in general we welcome Merz's intention to establish order in Spain as well, and all of this is wonderful. But then the head of the cabinet also pointed out the following: we expect Morocco to immediately take back illegal migrants. By the way, there is news that about 25,000 migrants have agreed to voluntarily leave the Spanish enclave. But you know, as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I can make more promises than anyone could ever dream of, but that doesn't mean those promises will be kept. But, for example, I will bring peace to the whole world. Oh wait, that's already been said. I think Trump said that, and he actually did it. Look, today, for example, the Strait of Hormuz was closed again. Well, peace. Well, only with a caveat really, but... Okay, let's continue. It's good that the European Commission and Commissioner Magnus Brunner promised their support on this issue. The regulation was adopted in June. Returns must be put into effect immediately and in full, says the head of the German cabinet. And of course, Ursula von der Leyen shared her opinion about all this. She emphasized that the footage coming from Ceuta is unacceptable. We cannot, she says, allow anyone to stay or arrive in our union without following our rules. I was in France recently, but the rules are being followed there. You can see there are many valuable specialists there too. All of this warms Juan's and my hearts. Everyone is working, everyone is happy. The crime rate is going down. It's just wonderful. It's like a fairy tale, a flourishing garden. Next, what happens? Then she launches into her speech. We can't allow anyone. Yes, that's what we said. And she has already instructed 2 European commissioners to provide strong support in regulating the situation. Obviously, these 2 men will come and sort everything out. European Commissioner Brunner is working closely, and he will be working on providing operational support to Spain, including through the Frontex agency. And in addition, Ceuta is in contact with the Moroccan government, and I'm confident that our close partnership with Morocco will allow us to achieve concrete results. And here again, it makes you wonder how suddenly 60,000 people ended up on the coast of Ceuta all at once. It would be one thing if the numbers increased wave after wave, but here, 60,000 people arrived at the same time. Of course, we can't possibly suspect that all of this was organized by someone. No, it's just people's desire to improve their lives, their social conditions, or maybe improve their political environment, and once again to embrace the ideas of the European Union. That is, you should take a look at that microblog X with that Ursula von der Leyen, or some other important leader from the European Union, and you immediately get inspired and think, oh, now I'm also a member of this wonderful society. Oh, and here they're explaining to us why thousands of Moroccans rushed to the Spanish Ceuta by sea. That's why I said at the beginning that I would tell a little bit about it. Oh, the thing is, Spain has legislation that states if you enter from, say, Morocco into Ceuta, you can be deported immediately. But if you come by sea, then no. In your case, they should actually apply simplified requirements, so to speak, and on the contrary, treat you with great care, as was said. So, even if you sailed there in some kind of tub for 300 meters, you still arrive by sea. You are still a valuable specialist who will now be fully served and provided with comfortable living conditions. Specialists tell us that there are ways to get to Ceuta and Melilla both by land and by sea. In many ways, it's precisely this decision by some court at the beginning of July 2026. Let's think about when this was made. A month ago. And after that, 64,000 people crossed over. Was this a good decision for Spain? But naturally, improving demographics in any country is always wonderful. The more people, the better. And the essence of this law is that the automatic return procedure applies only to those who crossed the land border. What else then? Despite the fact that there was a negative reaction from the EU, the expert believes that he wouldn't say that the current events threaten to become a migration crisis, but only loosely speaking. In this same Ceuta, shops, pharmacies, tobacco shops, correos, the post office, everything was closed. but nevertheless they opened the prices, the specialists, and took what was needed for comfortable living. This, of course, is not a crisis. Ah, so what? Well, and Spain, yes, deployed the troops. The troops have no right to shoot, they have no right to use force, but what they are allowed to do, I have no idea. So they just stand there. I have a few photos, one of them was actually in the headline. Well, here they are, valuable. The specialists are here. This vehicle, it's an armored personnel carrier, I guess. I'm not an expert, sorry, is standing in the distance, and the soldiers are looking off into the distance. What did they see there? Maybe birds flying? Do they need protection from them? And here the beach is in excellent condition. The beaches, you can see that we visit them. Here it's even better. Well, but here the conditions for living and relaxing are just perfect. Well, that's wonderful. Also the bills. And here, vacationers have comfortably settled in the resort area in order to help the locals, then to restore order and improve control. And here, well, what can I say? It's pleasing to see that beach goods are selling so well. So, in general, the stores that sell all these things can be pleased. The economy is rising, developing, and again, the quality of life is improving, and all these wonderful people are happy, showing their willingness to embrace the spirit of paradise. And here you can see the scale of tourism in Ceuta and Melilla. Here, this is probably a geologist, and he is testing the ground for cracks with his forehead. There are just especially sensitive spots there. And apparently he is checking if it's possible to build a house here to settle there with his family. Geologists, especially marine geologists, are in especially high demand in Spain. And naturally the arrival of such specialists is welcomed who can organoleptically, I mean by the organoleptic method empirically, determine whether this area is suitable for construction or not. Obviously it is suitable. And other valuable specialists have also made their way here. And then what? Well, in Spain, it's not just culture and tourism that are doing well, but now there are fires. Well, I won't be sarcastic here. It's really tough, of course, what's happening, but actually we got an answer here as to why the fires are getting worse every year. I found some interesting material on this. But first of all, because it's hot and the temperature is rising, the moisture level in the vegetation decreases, so it burns better than if there were rains, for example. Besides that, agriculture is declining a bit, so there's less maintenance of things like forest belts that border the fields and so on. Villagers are abandoning their farms. For many years now, fields that were used for crops have been overgrown with grass and shrubs. The grass in the meadows isn't being mowed. In the summer it dries out, and no one collects the dead wood in the forest that used to be gathered in winter for heating. On top of that, now they're even trying to ban the collection of dead wood. So, that very same so-called dead wood we've all heard about before. It's either not allowed to be collected, or maybe it is, but only under certain conditions. Additionally, there are fewer people and less equipment to fight fires. They tell us that there are only 7 air tankers operating in Spain, but obviously that's not what needs to be developed. What we really need is more drones. The more drones there are, the better. That's not true, they won't help with the fire, but they're still great. Some of the aircraft were sold off for unclear reasons, and some are out of order. On top of that, pilots from South Africa, Portugal, and Russia used to work here. Now all of that is at a minimum. On top of that, the current government has adopted a radical environmental theory, and now even the issue here is a ban. And under the threat of criminal prosecution, clearing dry brush is forbidden. Cutting down fallen trees, clearing fire breaks, or taking any other fire prevention measures is also prohibited. The authors of this theory say that nature, which has long endured the consequences of human activity, should be restored to its original state without any interference. This is, of course, an interesting theory, but if you consider that this is the same nature that is constantly recovering. Every day. It encounters thousands of people who in the past, when it was pristine, did not exist. And these people now come with fire, they appear, they possess fire. A strange, you could say, paradox arises, but we are learning. We will think about it and discuss it further next time. Because I think Juan and I have already presented the main concept and vision of this situation. Juan's sombrero even shrank, but that's okay. As soon as the situation improves, we'll buy Juan a big sombrero that will also let him feel dry and comfortable. Subscribe to the channel. Buy subtitles by Dima Torzok.